Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here are your supernatural hosts, Patricia Baker and Becky Andreasen. Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girlz. I am here, Patricia Baker, as your host, with my fabulous co-host, numerologist, Patricia Kirkman. Hi, Patricia. How are you tonight?
Well, sweetheart, I am doing just fine. I'm just delighted with going over some notes that we have for tonight's guest. I'm just tickled to death.
I know. She's going to be she's always a great guest. She's been on before. Robbie Holz is our guest tonight. And yes, and I got a lot of questions for her about healing and all of the events in her life and how she managed to handle them so beautifully. And we can all take a lesson and a page from her book, literally. So, yes, we're going to bring her on in a few minutes. So I got to tell you, though, first and foremost, I'm sitting here in front of a roaring fire because it's friggin' freezing here again. It's gone back down into the 30s. It's like the kind of cold rain that goes right through you.
Oh, that's bad.
It's not fun. It's not fun, no. So I'm hopeful. They promise 60 degrees on Friday. So anyways, so that's what's happening here. But some good news. Very good news. We have a new advertiser on the show, Pat Burnham with Pat Realty. And if you go to the website, which is, as everybody I hope knows by now, it's supernaturalgirlz.com, you will see a very interesting property that she has for sale in Charlemont, Mass. Now, this is a piece of history in New England. It's been owned and run by the same family for 5 generations.
Oh, my goodness.
Apparently they ran out of generations. So now it's on the market. But it's got just so many cute little things to it. It could be turned into a B&B on the upper levels. It's a general store. It's fully stocked. It's just this very unusual property. So Patricia Burnham, all these Pats, I tell you what, she called me the other day and asked about advertising. I'd love to have you on. So we've got a couple pictures of the property up on the website if anybody would love to take a look. And believe me, you would, because it's just unique. And, again, it's a piece of New England history that she is offering to the next buyer. So take a look at that, and it's, again, it's an interesting property. I know she has a lot more, too, but that's what she's sharing with us tonight.
Oh,
and then we have our app. We've got our app, Patricia, so if anybody would like to download the app so they can listen to the show right from your iPhone, you can now do it. You can download the app for free. Just go to the App Store and type in Supernatural Girlz Radio, and you'll be able to download it. So we're trying to make it as convenient as possible for all our listeners. You can listen in the car or listen when, you shouldn't be, like you're at work. Or
They'll never know for sure.
They'll never know.
We're good at that. Because we're supernatural.
That is right. That is right. Goodness me. So we've got a little bit of paranormal news tonight. This medieval manuscript. This is the coolest thing. So they found in this manuscript, it's a 750-year-old manuscript, the oldest surviving medieval text. It's written solely in Welsh, but now they're uncovering these once hidden ghostly faces and texts they never saw before on the vellum of these pages. I mean, it is just really strange stuff. And this was on livescience.com. I mean, my God, it's called The Black Book of Carr Marson. And the newly revealed passages, you can see these ghostly images right there on the website. It is just so cool. And the faces were found by Muriel Williams and Paul Russell of the University of Cambridge. And how they found them? It was visible under UV light, but not to the naked eye.
Isn't that fabulous?
It's so strange. I love it when these things pop up. It's just the most unusual thing. Who knows what all of this is going to finally tell at the end of the day. But we're going to keep following this to see if there's any good information for all of our listeners. Maybe there's something really amazing here that will just change the face of reality. I don't know, but we're going to keep a watch on it.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
but it's amazing when you think the ultraviolet light, things that were never thought of before, are the very things that are bringing everything else to the forefront.
Yes. This is amazing. Amazing stuff. So let's see, we're in an 8-day today, but tomorrow's a 9-day. What's going to be coming up for us?
Well, we're in a 3 months, so it's all about communications and creativity of every form. So tomorrow, the day and the month are identical. So watch out. That creative juice is going to be overflowing. It's going to bring things to mind that you're going to be able to do. And things that you've been thinking about writing, working on, should flow beautifully tomorrow. Now, just don't let yourself get scattered trying to do too many of these great things at one time. But it also has a luck factor to it. You'll be able to get things out to people that you've been holding back on for a bit. So it's going to be a little surprising in some respects, but good type of surprising.
Oh, well, that's good. And you did say this whole month is going to be creative and lighter, yes. And oh, good. Definitely going to be much, much better. But the part that it makes it interesting, the 9th, the 18th, and the 27th, the day and the month are identical. So that gives us kind of a double whammy, if you will. And the thing is just not to overload yourself where you get too scattered and you don't focus at all. But one of the things that I consider a taboo in the 3 years around is there's a tendency to gossip. So be cautious. And if you do gossip, make it about great stuff. Give a person a pat on the back instead of that negative jab. Oh, that's a great idea. So if you have to talk about someone, make it a nice thing that you're saying and something encouraging. Very good. Okay. That's good advice.
There's so many wonderful things that are taking place at this point in time that are going to open doors for us to really look at things in a more uplifting way. And communications of all forms, as you say, they just found these papers. All of these things deal with communications.
Yes, you're right. Yes. Oh, that's so exciting. Gosh. Well, that's wonderful. Oh, my goodness. Well, we have wonderful things to look forward to this whole month and also tomorrow, which is good because I know the months that have preceded this have been a bit challenging in the numbers for people. So
a little
nice.
of both.
Yeah, it's nice to see that change for the better. Yay. That's all good, all good. And there was something else I was going to share with everybody, and it just left my mind, but who knows? I'll think of it maybe after the first break. I'll be able to recover that memory.
You'll do
and
just
share that
fine
with our
with
audience. I know there's something. Well, it'll come back.
Well,
so we have, as you know.
Time.
Yes, it'll come back at the perfect time. That's a good affirmation. We have a terrific guest tonight, Robbie Holz.
Yes,
Robbie has been on our show before because she is an accomplished author, and she is the author of a previous book, which was Secrets of Aboriginal Healing, which she wrote with her late husband, Dr. Gary Holz. And now she has another book, which is called Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, a journey of healing and spirituality with a remote Australian tribe. So, I mean, my goodness, we have a lot to talk about here. This is for sure. Now, Robbie is an international speaker, holistic wellness consultant, And she goes all over the world teaching and talking about these experiences and how people can change their own lives for the better. So we got to welcome her right now. Robbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. What an exciting life you have led so far, and I know it's just going to keep going great guns. So, gosh, I'm not even sure where to begin with you, Robbie. You've had this adventure after adventure.
You know, like so many other people, it didn't feel like an adventure at the time. It was just there in front of you. And until I started putting the stories down, I realized I got a lot of stories. So I'm sure that's not uncommon to a lot of other people. You just deal with what's in front of you. So, yeah.
Well,
I like that other people can learn from my struggles. You know, why go through the hard stuff? I've shown you how to find the easy way out of this stuff. So.
And we all need that easy way. We do. But you face some serious health challenges. Maybe we could start there. Tell us about that.
Well, I almost died twice. I'm kind of a slow learner, but I know it was also part of my soul's journey. I delivered my son 30 years ago, and I was given a blood transfusion at the time because it was a rough delivery. And that had hepatitis C in it. But 30 years ago, they didn't know what to call it. They just called it non-A, non-B. And if they didn't have a name for it, they sure didn't have any kind of treatment or cure. So the hepatitis almost killed me, and then the experimental treatment that the doctors put me on almost killed me. And at that point, I was in pretty bad shape. I couldn't remember what I was talking about, so I couldn't finish a sentence because I forget what I was. So you thought you had a hard time remembering what you were talking about. I couldn't even ever finish a sentence. And I couldn't get out of bed for 9 months. I couldn't walk to the mailbox. Western medicine really didn't know what to do with me. They had really left me in pretty bad shape. Although they'd saved my life initially, now I was really a mess. And I wanted to stay alive because I had this little boy. And I knew he was too little to remember me. So I started finding answers and discovered that there's all kinds of answers out there just because Western medicine didn't have anything for me. And ended up actually healing myself. I no longer have hepatitis C or the fibromyalgia or the chronic fatigue syndrome. I've healed all of those. And it put me on this.
Did all those things come with the transfusion? Is that all a part and parcel of that?
That's a good question. Well, the hepatitis C, it's a quiet, silent killer, and I was fortunate that mine actually showed its ugly head, because otherwise it just kind of quietly sets up camp in your liver and you don't know it's there. But I went through extreme stress, physical and emotional, when we were building our home, and that's when the hepatitis came out. And then because of that, I was so sick that then the fibromyalgia set in, and then the chronic fatigue set in, and all these other things, and my body was just literally crashing. It was just it just couldn't withstand all this stuff. So I really did almost die twice. I think the experimental treatment they put me on might have created the problems and brought on the hepatitis C and the chronic fatigue. Apparently they put me on doses that it was an experiment, and they put me on doses nobody on the planet had ever been on that long. I was on this thing for years, whereas most people were only able to do it for 3 months. I was pretty tenacious to find answers. So,
yes, and plus you had this infant son to take care of.
Right, and that's a high motivator, to stay. It keeps you busy, it keeps your mind occupied, so you're really not paying attention to how awful you feel. You just keep struggling, like a lot of listeners, You've just got responsibilities that demand a lot.
And your message, even right at the beginning here of the show, is so important, that there are answers out there. If traditional medicine isn't filling the bill for you guys, then please take a look at alternatives, because there are so many other options out there that may make a difference, and they certainly did for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, if I had believed what the doctors had told me at that time with what they knew, I don't think I would have survived much longer. I certainly wouldn't have made it another 10 years. But there are so many answers, and I think one thing that I really want the listeners to hear is that our bodies are designed to heal. They want to heal, and most of us are supposed to get better. It's not always part of our soul's journey, so to speak, to go through this traumatic stuff. We're just making it much harder than it needs to be. So you have to figure out why you're blocking the healing and what's going on here, because it's deliberately there in your path, and you just have to understand why. So then it's a messenger.
It is a messenger. I'm so glad to hear you say that. Now, I knew, Patricia, you have a question also.
Yes, I was concerned with when they're looking for alternative ways of healing, what's the best approach for someone that's a novice to take? What would you recommend they start doing?
This is what I love about you two ladies. These are great questions. I can tell right off the bat. Always follow your intuition, your gut. If it doesn't feel right, I don't care who's telling you what, including me, if it doesn't feel right in your gut, in your instinct, your intuition, you need to follow that. I have people that call me for consultations, and they're like, so-and-so is suggesting this, and surgery just doesn't feel right, or this drug just doesn't feel right. It's like, well, it doesn't feel right for a reason. I'm not saying don't follow your doctor's advice, but really pay attention to what your intuition and your gut are telling you. I think that's the first step. And I think that it would be lovely if it wasn't alternative. That's so interesting how they boxed that. Yes, it's all complementary. It all works together.
I like that term a lot better, complementary.
I do too.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, Robbie.
They do have to blend together. They have to blend together. Otherwise, we're going to be lost. We'll be as stagnant on one side as we were on the other.
Exactly. And, I mean, if you've gotten to the point where your disease has progressed far enough that you need surgery or you need drugs because you're in a chronic or acute state, then and that feels right to you, then by all means take advantage of that. But, the big thing that the Aborigines really taught us, they gave us their beautiful healing wisdom, which we were so grateful to receive, and they gave it to us because they said we really didn't understand how healing works. It's a body, mind, spirit. They're all connected. They all have to be balanced, and if they're all balanced, then you will be well. But what they were telling us that we are missing the boat on is we aren't really looking at the emotional core, the emotional root to an illness.
That
and
is
that
so
if you
true.
Don't,
yes.
Right, and if you don't uproot that, it's just like picking the top of a dandelion. It's going to come right back again. And I know that we've all had, friends or family that we know have had surgery to remove tumors, and if they haven't made any changes, those tumors will come right back. You've got to get to that emotional root. So even though I received a blood transfusion that dramatically changed my life, there was an emotional core to that. There was the spirit side, the soul side was involved in that too. It was part of my journey. So that's important to. I think what Western medicine tends to do is just address the physical. You've got to get to the emotional, and also what's the soul's voice in this, because the soul definitely has a voice in it.
You're so right, and it is so important that anybody who's chronically ill or is facing a devastating illness understand that nobody's blaming them for this. It's not saying this is your fault that this happened. It's saying empower yourself and start digging deep to find out what's at the bottom of all of this. Because even your husband, your late husband who had MS, he was taught by the Aborigines to see this as a gift. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I love that you said that it's not that you did anything wrong. That's so important. And that's another thing the Aboriginal people have given us is when there's no criticism. There's no judgment. If you blocked energy or you've created an illness, that's what you've done. It's not a big deal. You just now unblock it or you just grow from it and learn. So Gary my late husband was a physicist. He was very much black and white scientist, and if it couldn't be proven, it didn't exist. You know those kind of people. And he ended up with yes, I'm sure you do. He ended up with multiple sclerosis, and he actually was a quadriplegic for 7 years, which meant he had no feeling from the neck down. And what he discovered in his journey with the Aboriginals, actually in 10 days' time, they had him feeling again in his body, which he hadn't had for 7 years. And he also understood that this was brought on because he had such an abusive childhood. He had an alcoholic, abusive father who used to beat him. He had learned with this genius mind of his how to really numb himself emotionally until he literally numbed himself physically. So he needed to get to the root of that and have forgiveness for his father and recognize that there were many gifts in there. Some of the most painful teachers are the best gifts, the best teachers. So once he forgave and let go of that, his body could release this stuff that he'd been holding in his cells and start create the healing again. So that was hugely transformational for him. He really came back a totally different man.
It's a remarkable experience that he had, and I know you walked with him through part of his illness. And again, it's so important to look at the kinds of mechanisms we had to put in place to survive our childhoods, and then to come to a point where we have to understand they may still be in motion and we don't need them anymore, and now they're creating a problem. Whereas before they might have helped us save our lives, like Gary numbing himself from the pain of having such an abusive father, but then that numbing just continued on into his adult years. It was no longer a helpful thing. It was now in his way. And more than in his way, it was starting to kill him. But we all have those programs running. You know, they're like their own little programs running in the background. We may not even be aware of them, and we need to get aware. We do.
That's a big, a very important point. Because, you know, I was raised Catholic, and they can teach guilt like nobody's business.
I was too. I understand.
I mean, it's just a default mode for me running in the background. I don't even know it's there. But guilt it creates a different kind of cell, and it's really toxic to the body. It's really hard on the body if you're creating a lot of it, enough of it, and you're not releasing this stuff. So I had to start becoming aware of which emotions were the most unhealthy, the unhealthiest emotions to be kind of marinating in, and also on the flip side of that is which ones are the healthiest emotions to have to help you heal faster. So that's all part of what the Aboriginal tribe people have taught us, is to pay attention to what kind of, every thought is creating something, and you need to start paying attention to what thoughts are creating what type of cells. And like you said, what are we still holding, maybe even on a subconscious basis, that we're not even aware of? I had this great conversation 2 nights ago with a friend of mine. He said he was in yoga, which was kind of new to him. And he said that he held this particular pose, and he was showing me the pose. And he said that released some emotions in him, and all of a sudden he found himself tearing up, and he remembered a very tragic event that had happened to him. He didn't even know it was there, but that the movement of the yoga had released this that was in his cells. And it really caught him by surprise that your emotions are being stored in your cells, whether you're aware of it or not.
What a wonderful healing that he had, and that's the kind of thing that I think so many people need. We all need that because it does get stored and it gets stuck. And like you said, he didn't even know it was there, but had it stayed there long enough, who knows what chaos it might have created. And now, Robbie, what do you think happens? Do you think a memory like that, stored in the body, erupts into disease because it's trying to get your attention, kind of like a nightmare?
You know, that's exactly. I know that, for instance, psoriasis, everything, if you look at it, it's related to emotions. The body and the emotions cannot be separated. And science knows this. They've proven that if you have 15 minutes of stress, it's going to lower your immune system for 24 hours. They're just too connected. And so we do have these emotions that are stored in the body, and they do sometimes erupt, whether it's cancer or, I'm an overachiever, so I went beyond fibromyalgia. I'm also, let's create something even bigger. Let's go fibromyalgia. Chronic fatigue and all of this and hepatitis. Fibromyalgia involves the entire body. I'm not just going to contain it to one section. I'm going to go full bore. And Interestingly, fibromyalgia is on the rise. It's typically with women. It's like your body is just crashing. There's too much going on. But now I've noticed that it's even starting to happen in teenagers. The body just can't handle all this. And so it's like you've got too much fear, you've got too much anxiety, too much stress throughout the entire system.
That's scary that it's hitting teenagers now.
Yeah. Well, but look at the lifestyles that we're demanding of them. They have very hectic schedules. But it comes back to, like you were saying earlier, swinging back the other way, recognizing the mind can be a slave driver, or the mind can be this perfectionistic whatever. It's that mind that's driving you. It's the mind that's creating these fear-based emotions. And start waking up to that and shifting that mind over to actually becoming more, it's love-based emotions. Because it's really very simple. Fear-based emotions tend to create problems with the body, negativity, toxicity. Love-based emotions can create a different response, a different cell. So you start learning how to, because a lot of this stuff is just habits. It's part of the culture, but it's just habits. So you start retraining that mind rather than going into fear-based, shifting it over to, okay, what do I need to know at this present moment? What can I be grateful for? Can I forgive them? Can I find some compassion here? Can I find some patience? You see, you're just shifting that mind over from its natural autopilot of being in fear-based into more love-based emotions, which are much, much healthier on the body and actually promote wellness.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Sometimes it's hard to get that space. I mean, one of the little techniques that I use is if I catch myself, and I try to catch myself, thinking thoughts that, I sit back and I ask myself, why am I thinking those thoughts? Where in the world is this coming from? Because it's not my choice to think those thoughts. It's just automatic. So it gives me that little bit of space, as tiny as it may be, that moment of pause where I can question myself and become the observer rather than be so involved in these negative thoughts. It helps a lot.
It's huge. It sounds so simple, and it actually is simple. But I agree, that's a really effective way. Or taking a breath is another one. Because what's happening is you're stopping that mind from being on autopilot. You know, if Gary had just kind of stepped back and observed his mind, he would have seen a little bit more what was going on. And that observation, like you noticed, makes a big difference. You start, well, where did that come from? Oh, that's the way I was raised. Oh, my mom was always teaching me that, whatever. And you realize, like you were saying earlier, Patricia, it's just not, we don't need it anymore. But that was part of the way I was brought up. Right. So you start having an awareness, and then you let it go. You just let it go. You quit playing with it.
Yeah. It's hard to let go, though, because we're so geared towards it. You have to you actually consciously have to tell yourself to remind you to let go of these things instead of piling up all the negativity.
And you know what I tell people, Patricia, when they say that is I'm like, well, who's telling you that you can't let it go? It's the mind again. Exactly. And that's where I say, well, thanks for sharing, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to let it go. And sometimes, and I had this recently, I was on the highway. I live in the Seattle area, and I was driving downtown, and there were so many rude people in front of me and moving around me, and plenty of opportunities for me to learn patience. And I just got to the point where I'm like, okay, how fast can I let this go? How fast can I let this go? And start focusing on all the amazing, beautiful drivers that are surrounding me, because there's certainly way more of those. It's about shifting that focus. The mind tends to want to go towards the negativity, and not letting it do it on autopilot anymore, having more of a consciousness to it, saying, isn't that interesting? You're so cute how you always drag me in like that when I'm tired, you know?
And, you know, that's true. The more exhausted we get, the more we allow the negative side to quote, hold us up instead of letting us release and let go.
Yeah. My mind is not allowed to go near that stuff at night in bed or when I'm tired. It's like kicking you when you're down. You're very vulnerable, and your mind is very tricky, and it knows that. So it's not about working against this mind. It's just retraining it. and getting it to actually work for you rather than to sort of be subconsciously creating problems. And then you wake up and you've got fibromyalgia and you don't know how that happened. So it's just like for most people, it's just old habits. But now you start gaining an awareness, like you said, Patricia, where you just stop for just a second, just enough so that you're just not automatically controlled like a puppet.
Yes,
yeah.
And it is a very liberating
behind.
feeling. Yes, it's all of these little techniques that we can use. There's lots of them, and I'm sure, Robbie, you teach your clients how to use all of them so that they can stop the monkey mind, which is an addiction. Nothing less. It's an addiction.
Exactly. It is an addiction. And I think the more you bring it back to the present moment, what's going on right now in front of me? You know, what do I taste? What do I hear? What is the task right in front of me? Rather than we're so used to letting that chatty mind go off into the past or off into the future, and that's bring it back, present moment, bring it back, retraining it. That makes a huge difference. It's called consciousness.
Yes. Well, and it's what you talk about in your fabulous book, your second book, Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening. I mean, that's what this is all about, is waking up to these things so that we're not slaves to it.
Exactly, because that's really what's happening on a planetary level, whether we know it or not. We're all waking up at different levels, different paces. But what we're doing is we're waking up to the fact that the mind has been imprisoning us. The mind has been controlling us. And the mind was never designed to be doing most of what we're asking it to do. The mind, this beautiful mind, was designed to be a servant to the soul, not in charge. And so what's happening is we're waking up and no longer just let this mind run on autopilot without us even being aware of it. We're just using it as the powerful tool that it is. And that's a huge shift. And then you start losing these fears, because the fears are mind-generated. It's just belief systems that we need to start waking up to. Why am I holding on to that? It doesn't serve me anymore. Where did that come from? And you start letting go of these fears that are mind-generated and the emotions that come from that. And the body can do so much better and thrive when you're starting to shift more into the love-based emotions like kindness, compassion, joy, gratitude. That's a very powerful thing for that mind to actually assist you with. And that's what we're shifting over to. Yeah.
And you know what's great, too, is that through your book, and when, obviously you're talking about all these great things tonight on the show, you're able, Robbie, to give people a choice. I mean, to let people see they actually have a choice. Because so many people feel that they don't, that, this is going on in my life, so I have to run and go crazy with it. No, you don't. You actually have a choice.
You do have a choice, and that, every thought, every action is a choice, and it really is very simple. Is it fear-based or is it love-based? And what we do, why we're here right now at this amazing time on the planet, is we wake up and move into these higher levels of awakening, higher levels of consciousness, is you start paying attention to what kind of energy am I bringing in, because, again, it's the same thing. Certain emotions, certain energy can be harmful to you and everyone around you, toxic. We all know people who have toxic energy that just emulates off of them. Or am I bringing more love-based emotions to it?
Right.
Am I bringing in more patience, more compassion to this situation? Because those kind of energies shift and change everything. And that's why a lot of us are here to deliberately to bring in higher levels of this love and light, the higher levels of this patience. It's so when people tell me that they get very frustrated and angry and upset when they watch the news, I tell them, well, then stop watching it, because if that's the energy you're creating, that's not helping. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a simple fix.
Talk back to it.
Yeah. Well, you start recognizing this planet is a beautiful planet, and it's shifting into higher levels of awareness. And I love that I can talk about that with your listeners, because they understand that. They do. They do. And so we recognize that what energy we're putting out affects other people. And as we continue to bring in more love and light and shift away from these fears, which are so paramount and predominant in the society, we are overcoming that. The light is sort of overshadowing the darkness, and it's bringing in high enough levels of this that it helps others to awaken. You know, you've heard of that 100 monkey theory?
Yes.
Do you remember what that was about, how it was one monkey who was a female who started doing something differently?
Go over that again so that our audience can be refreshed on this, too. Go ahead.
Okay. I have to say I love that it was a female monkey.
Oh, yay.
It is a supernatural girls radio show.
That's right.
That's right. So a female monkey started doing something different, and it was an improvement with, I don't know if she was washing her food or getting to it easier, and the other monkeys started observing her, and they started doing the same thing. And when there was 100 monkeys on this island doing the same thing that they had learned from this one monkey, it just automatically started happening on other places in the world. It was just part of the consciousness, part of the grid, so that now other monkeys on all the way on the other side of the globe were now doing the same thing. It was part of that consciousness. So that's really what's happening with us. We're here deliberately to start raising an awareness, raising a consciousness, which will then help the grid and feed others and then help others awaken. So it comes back to, again, recognizing when is that mind of mine, through its emotions, through my actions, whatever, bringing in some really toxic, negative energy. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it just an awareness to it, and to shift it over when you can catch it into more loving responses, which is not only bringing in higher levels of really thriving energy for you, but others around you. Because the more gratitude you have in you, the more forgiveness that you have in you, that creates a different cell. It vibrates higher. It holds a lot of love and light. It really promotes this love and this life force flowing through you. And if you have enough joy and gratitude and forgiveness that you are bringing into you, disease can't sustain in that high vibrational cell. It just can't.
That's true.
Whereas, yeah, so it's important to distinguish that some of the most toxic emotions are guilt, self-loathing. Those are really hard on the body, and it's okay to experience that, but just be aware that it's creating some real dense cells. They can't hold as much light in them. They're sticky and gunky. It's really hard for energy to flow, and it's going to slow down that chakra, so then that area is going to get affected. And if you do it enough, it's a perfect swampy breeding ground for disease. That's what you need to be aware of.
Explanation, Robbie. That is so right on. What you just described is exactly what happens.
Right.
Disease creates disease.
Yeah, and you know, it's also, I want to go back to the 100th monkey theory again, because people also have to realize, this is what you're also saying in through your experience and through your beautiful book, that when people decide they're not going to be enslaved, they're going to make conscious choices and become aware of what they're doing when they're going to go for their own freedom. That means, just like with the 100th monkey, it's going to be so much easier for everybody else to do the same. So setting ourselves free is far from selfish. That's the most loving thing you can do for everybody on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Excellent point. Exactly.
Very good.
And the more love that you start generating, that's going to raise the vibration of your body, your cells, and those around you. You're going to be like a tuning fork to those people who then come around this higher vibration that you are. And that raises you up in clarity, in consciousness, in love, and wanting to be in service to others. And that's ultimately what's going to save us on the planet, is we're going to shift into this, we're going to mature and wake up into these higher levels of love and wanting to be of service. And we're going to let go of this fear-based stuff of the mind where it's always about what's in it for me and greed and untruth and that sort of thing. That's what's slowly happening around the planet, one by one by one. So we don't judge others who are still in these lower vibrational states. Everybody's learning at a different pace, in a different way. We just simply pay attention to, what am I doing? What am I adding to the situation? What kind of energy am I contributing here? Am I adding more love and compassion, or is my mind adding more fear? It's that stopping butting heads together and just recognizing everybody is learning in a different way. But this is why we come here. This is a beautiful planet that we have free will here. That's what's unique about planet Earth is it's free will, and we're etheric spirits who get a body and emotions, because those are really they're connected. They work together, and they help you learn how to grow and experience, because nothing gets our attention like pain, right? So you're either going to grow through pain or inspiration, but for a lot of us it has to be pain, and I'll raise my hand to that one because obviously,
I'll second that.
So they're very tied together, but this is not only a paradise for an etheric spirit to be in a body. What an awesome experience is that. But it's also a university. This is here to learn and grow, and all these things are opportunities to grow and love, to grow in love, to grow through experience. So having been through some of these things, you suddenly have some compassion for somebody who's going through the same thing rather than judging them. So that's why we keep shifting more into that love, recognizing they're just learning. Wow, that's a painful way that looks like a pretty long struggle, but that's apparently what they need, or they wouldn't be doing it that way.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes this is getting their attention to get them to realize what they're doing to themselves. That's the hard part sometimes.
Right, because it's unconscious. A lot of it, we're just on autopilot. The minds have just got control of us, and so it's really about waking up to, why am I doing this? Is it fear-based? Or is it love-based? It's really that simple. And the fear-based is going to create problems emotionally and eventually physically if you don't take care of it. Or is it love-based, which is going to help me thrive, help my body thrive, and everyone around me and the planet?
Now, Robbie, when you studied with the Aborigines, I know your late husband learned so much from them, as you did, but they have this connection with all that is. It's not just the land. The Aborigines were connected. They saw their impact on everything. We don't. We tend to have a narrow mind. We only see what we see right in front of us and think about our families and our neighborhoods, and we rarely get outside of that. But the Aboriginal culture, 60,000 is maybe 100,000 years old, right? And continuous life on this planet.
Right.
But they have this amazing, what you describe in your book, connection to all that is, everything from the beginning and everything that's here now. It's quite powerful.
It is, and the ones that I'm talking about are the remote Aboriginals, and they do not have any connection to civilization. And, in fact, the ones that Gary encountered, they had never seen a white person before, and I thought it was adorable that the little boy there loved the wheels on his wheelchair. Boys are just so drawn to wheels, no matter what culture they're part of. But they have passed this wisdom down orally, and we think that they're probably the oldest continuous culture on the planet. And the ones that are remote the Outback is a vast desert. You could fly from one end of the United States to the other, and that's just nothing but desert. So it's easy for them to be tucked away and safeguarded from quote-unquote civilization. And I believe that the ones that we were dealing with were of a higher dimensional, greater awakening. You could say that we're at third, and they were probably at fifth dimensional awakening and awareness, where they live in service to each other. They live in love. There's no possessions. They don't even have a word for that's not even in their vocabulary. But they have always stayed connected to the land. They've always stayed connected to this one consciousness so that they can talk to the plants and find out what heals what. They can communicate to the water. They are so, so deeply connected to the earth and the ancestors, and they know that the ancestors are part of them. And they will tell you that when we started speaking out loud, that's when we lost our connection.
Oh.
We could no longer hear the mountains talking to each other. We couldn't hear the trees singing to us. And they have, they're telepathic, and they think that speaking out loud is actually primitive, which it is. But when we started doing that, that's when we lost our connection. And I thought it was interesting that they knew Gary was coming to visit them in the Outback 4 months before he even knew of them. He had just learned about them, where they already knew he was coming, and they had already sent away and brought in a woman who was part Aboriginal, part English, so she could communicate to him. And they spent months preparing, coming up with metaphors, because they were so tuned into this grid. They knew that he was coming and that they were supposed to give their healing secrets to him, because this man would be able to take it out into the world.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, we're going to take a very short commercial break here, Robbie, and all of our listeners, so everybody stay tuned. And if you have a question, then please call it in at 646-478-0828. Again, the number is 646-478-0828, or you can write it up in our chat room. We'll ask it for you. So everybody stay tuned. We will be right back.
This is Veronique Raskin, founder of the Organic Wine Company. As one of the pioneers of the organic wine movement, since 1980 I have brought you the very best and most authentic organic wines directly to your table. I work with small family estates who grow certified organic grapes and produce exceptional wines. You can purchase our wines individually from our website at theorganicwinecompany.com or join one of our wine clubs. Our organic wines are perfect for you and for your family as gifts for friends and relatives, and they are simply spectacular for the holidays. Visit us at theorganicwinecompany.com to enjoy the very best organic wines conveniently delivered to your door. I am Veronique Raskin, passionate about my mission. I offer to you vegan, organic, and biodynamic wines, wines made by people of the heart, wines with a heart. Au revoir. Call us at 1-888-ECO-WINE.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion. www.KOSMICfusion.com to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are you getting screwed on your property taxes? How to find out and how to fix it. Available on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We are speaking with, tonight, Robbie Holz, who is the author of Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, a journey of healing and spirituality with a remote Australian tribe. Robbie, I want to ask you to tell our listeners a little bit about your unique and really beautiful relationship with your late husband, Gary. I mean, this is quite a love story. And yet you ended up having to let go of him as he passed.
Yes, he lived about 12 years beyond what the doctors had told him that he would live, and he came back from the Outback just really determined to spend the rest of his life promoting what the Aborigines had taught him so that we could teach other people how to heal so they could learn how to heal themselves. And I met him probably about 7 years later than his Outback experience. And, I love that with these listeners, I can tell them stories I couldn't tell so many other people.
Oh, for sure.
When he first saw me at a 4th of July party, all the past lives flashed across my face, and it freaked him out. He'd never had anything happen like that before. Nothing for me. I didn't get a thing. But he knew.
You got him.
He knew something was up, and he knew that I was supposed to play a part in his life. So eventually, he was pursuing me, and I wasn't interested. But the thing was, he knew that I was passionate about animals, and apparently at this point, he was a very well-known, recognized healer. He was helping people with AIDS and stage 4 cancers and things that Western science didn't seem to have any answers for. And so he told me that he would help me learn how to heal animals. He'd teach me how to heal animals. And that was, I tell you, such a great carrot to dangle in front of me. So I started spending time with him. And I had a sister. We're good Catholics, so we had a lot of kids. And one of them was my sister was back in the Midwest, was experiencing problems where she was going blind really quickly in like a year and a half from some very rare disease, uveitis, inflammation of the iris.
Oh, yeah.
And so she had very little vision left in one eye, just a little bit of peripheral vision, and she'd gone blind in the other eye, and she was younger than I was. And he said, send her out, I think I can help her. And so she flew out, trusting me, and he healed her in 4 days. And it was like somebody had flipped a switch. I knew that he had done that for me, and I instantly fell in love with this man and would spend the rest of my days with him until he passed back in 2000, actually 8 years ago.
Oh.
So before we worked together, and we were helping people heal, and it was fascinating because he started developing the gifts that the Aborigines have. He started being able to be telepathic, which I did not know the first year I was married to him. That would have been helpful. Can you imagine? And he started being able to see inside people's bodies. He could see their chakras spinning. He could see tumors inside. This is what the Aborigines can do, and he started developing these gifts as well. And he ended up being a vehicle for healing. He was always very humble about it and said he was simply a conduit. And we were working together, and I love how the Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening talks about some of these healing stories because some of them are so touching. And, at one point, you start recognizing that it really has a lot to do with the soul's journey, and there's just some beautiful stories in there, children and other people. But at one point, after we decided we're spending so much time helping people who are really sick, they don't come to an alternative healer until they've really exhausted everything else.
Exactly.
And by that time, they're stage 4 cancers, whatever. But we decided, we could help so much more people if we went to the other end of that and showed people how to heal themselves, how to stay well, where they've been creating the problems. So that's what we started doing the rest of our lives, was promoting that. And about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, he came to me and said that he would be leaving in a year. His soul's journey was done in this particular body, and we weren't happy about it. It took us quite a while to come to terms with that because we were really very much in love, happily married. And he actually did leave a year later. And what I didn't expect was that he would be very, very involved and assisting from the other side of the veil. The reason he told me he was leaving a year before he did is because he was told that he would be able to help more from the other side of the veil. And so that's exactly what happened. And so he's actually very involved, and I do a lot of consultations with people who are sick, and I get a lot of information from my spirit guides about what their emotional root is and how to help, and they help assist in healing that, releasing it, and helping them heal. And Gary's part of that team. And also, I did not know that he would be showing up every morning after he passed. I could see his energy. It's very distinct. My sister identifies it the exact same way. It kind of looks like an eye, an outline of an eye. He showed up every morning at 8 o'clock, not 7:59 or 8:01. He was a very punctual man and married a woman who was not. And so it was always
He's still teaching
a bit of contention. Yeah. And he was off 1 year. I think it was a couple of years ago at spring when we had turned the clocks an hour forward. He was an hour off. And I just love that he was finally off. He was finally late.
Oh, God, that's funny. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
so I can tell that he still does. He still comes to me in the morning, and I can catch it if I close my eyes and see the energy, and I can see him downloading energy into me, just like the Aborigines did when I was in the Outback. They're sending certain kinds of energy that's just beautiful love. Beautiful love. It's very healing.
And you're so lucky, to have this after-death relationship with Gary. But at the same time, I know it must have been very hard, and I know you write about that in the book as well, when he passed. I mean, not having him there physically, you guys were so close, you loved each other so much, and just not to have him here, that was a big adjustment.
And that, that's also part of why we wanted that in the book, The Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, is that the relationship continues. Just because your loved one has passed doesn't mean that you can't still continue a relationship. And it had to shift. Obviously, it was different. And he's not involved. We had to have him step away so that I could have a romantic relationship, because there were 3 in that every time. There was 3 of us there. And so we needed to have him step away. I had to take all the pictures out of the bedroom and just pretty much keep them to the office. So he's assisting with my work tremendously. And so he stays in the office or whenever I'm out speaking or whatever, but he's not allowed in the bedroom when I have a romantic interest over.
Smart lady.
Got to draw those boundaries. Yes, you do. And it does make sense, obviously, to do that. And yet he did encourage you to go on with your life and meet new people. That's something he supported.
I think that's why I ended up in the Outback a year later after he passed, as I realized. I mean, I got this beautiful invitation to perform ceremonies with Aboriginal women, which they had not done that before. They were just starting to open up their ceremonies to women, and so I was invited. And I realized, this is a year after he passed, I realized the last day I was there that this was his way of saying goodbye, and it was sort of coming full circle and handing the baton over to me, saying, now I want you to take this information and get it out worldwide. And he would be assisting from the other side of the veil, and that's exactly what he's been doing. So it's just been beautiful. We're still a team. It's just that he's on the other side. He's helping very powerfully in the etheric world.
How exciting. Oh, my goodness. Love never dies. That is true. Gosh.
No.
And we have a question. We've got a lot of questions that have been coming up in the chat room, but you've actually answered them before I could even get a chance to ask them. But there is a question from a caller. Jay in Canada is calling in. I'm going to Get Jay on the line. Welcome, Jay, to the show. Do you have a question for Robbie?
Yeah, Robbie, it's great to meet you. Thank you much.
Hi, Jay.
Hey there. I teach Aboriginal drum making, and it's just interesting what you're saying about the richness of the Aboriginal, what do you call it, the spirituality or the healing. It's really actually quite simple. Do you have any things about when you're teaching the Aboriginal secrets of awakening that it's actually very simple, and do some of your students or your people always want something that's more than simple?
Well, the Aboriginal tribes people have taught us that it really is simple. It's just our minds complicate it. And it kind of reminds me of when I traveled, the first time I traveled, really, how much luggage did I bring? And the better I get at it, the less, you could get it down to a backpack. It's just that the mind wants to complicate. So I think the more, it's very simple, Jay, about it's either love-based or it's fear-based. But there's so much that the Aboriginal people have taught us. They've told us that we civilized tribes don't really use our subconscious minds to any degree. We're just kind of off running. The minds are controlling us rather than us really going in and actively creating what we want. So the Aboriginal people will spend more than half of their time in sort of a dreamtime state, what we might call meditation, and they start doing that about 3 or 4. Where they start going in and actively creating what they want. Now, that's called quantum physics. And they will tell you that that's actually more real than than the reality we think is going on. So that's part of one of the steps for healing. They gave us these simple steps for healing, and then one of them is go in and focus on what you want. See the end result. Don't get hung up on the beginning. See the end result. So I know that like a lot of indigenous cultures around the planet, they are holding the vision and seeing the planet at peace, with the waters healed, and people operating in more love. Yeah. So when you're making your drums, Jay, if you don't, I wouldn't be surprised you're already doing this, but put intention in those drums. It's astonishing how we're very, very powerful. So put deliberate intention in those drums to, whatever you want to do, whether it's going to be healing or raising awareness or just simply for the greater good of all, a higher level of love. And it's amazing how that actually can transpire. The Aboriginals put a lot of love and healing into this book, and it's interesting how there was actually someone in Canada that contacted me that said they could see rainbow colors coming off the book. And some people can feel the healing coming off the book, the first one, Secrets of Aboriginal Healing. And I don't doubt the second one, too, because the Aboriginals have placed that intention in it. So that's why they told me just get it in their hands. It's that intention is in there.
Fabulous.
What a great thing for you to do with your drums, huh?
Yeah, it's do you talk about how in my class I talk about how the heart is really important. Getting your heart connected with the universe. Do you or just getting your heart in sync with the universe? I just wondered, do you talk about that in your books, and also have you experienced it through maybe the didgeridoos doing it or some sort of ceremony doing it that way too?
Yeah, that's a good question. The second book, The Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, actually goes into more of that because I go into a little bit more detail about what happened during those ceremonies. I'm not allowed to tell you what we actually did, but I can tell you my experiences. Yeah. And so, yes, the didgeridoo, what a beautiful instrument for aligning the chakras, right? It's just such a powerful, haunting instrument. The Aboriginal people, they don't pray for rain. They just know they're out of alignment. So they get back into alignment again. And that's why when we were in the Outback doing these ceremonies, we created thunderstorms that the concierge at the hotel said they hadn't seen in like 5 years. They were so powerful. They just kept circling the camp. They just know how to get back in touch with the planet and how to get back in touch with nature and align with it and they just know that they're one. There's no separation for them. And that's what I was experiencing when I was in the Outback performing these ceremonies, is I could just, it intellectually that you're one, everything is one and it's connected, but I could actually feel it. and sense it, and that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds really amazing.
Well, thank you, Jay, for your call. We really appreciate you calling into the show.
Thanks, Robbie, and look forward to getting your book in the future. I got some more books right now, but that looks like a real interesting one, so thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
You know, Jay brings up a great point about how everybody, if we recognized how much Mother Earth loves us, we would stop abusing her, for one thing, like the Aboriginal people already know this, because they know this. They just know how much she loves us, and they can sense it and feel it. And I think Jay just, brought up an opportunity to bring up, send some gratitude from your heart to Mother Earth. Just take a moment to just send her a little love, send her a little gratitude, because she's always sending tremendous love to you. And that's a very simple thing to do, but what a beautiful thing to just take a second when you're sitting outside, sipping your tea, just send a little gratitude to her.
That's a great message for everybody listening tonight, to remember to do that. And again, here in this country, we tend to get so disconnected from the land, whereas the Aborigines really live that connection. And it's so exciting that you actually got to do ceremony with Aboriginal women. This is you were part of the first group ever to be allowed to do this kind of thing. And what you wrote about in the book is so fascinating, that the men really didn't want this to happen, the Aboriginal men.
No, they really fought it, but thank God the women persevered, huh?
I guess.
But I think they were concerned. They knew that these were very powerful ceremonies. They were also concerned that people would be taking their secrets out. And that was one of the things that I really wanted people to know, is that we have given their healing secrets because they've asked us to take it out. So that was at their request. And none of the things in the ceremony that we are not allowed to disclose are talked about. I just simply talk about my experiences. But, the men, I didn't realize how powerful this was going to be. I really just went clueless. And when I got there, I was just kind of a bit panicked, like, this is just so foreign. I don't know. It felt like I'd landed on Mars, because the dirt is red, and the desert is really harsh, and it's just I'm just amazed that they're able to live in that with such gratitude, But the men needed to be outside of where we were performing these ceremonies. So I never saw men, because they were deliberately someplace else holding the energy and keeping us safe and keeping us protected. Because what we were doing was bringing in rains that were very, very powerful, which apparently were a very good thing for them. The land needed it, and so they said that our energy added to that. The white women who came in was adding to that energy. So that was great.
But
we were able to actually contribute.
Quite a protocol set up, so that you weren't allowed to do certain things. You had a kind of a mediator almost, who spoke to you and then spoke to the Aboriginal women. And there was a lot of things that you were asked to do, and I don't know how you kept track of it all.
Well, and Patricia, with me, I don't know it's a protocol till I've broken it. I can't tell you how many protocols I broke. And you don't realize how many protocols a culture has until you step into one that's so very different, Oh, my gosh, so many things. But you learn, you pick it up. I knew, from having been with Gary, I knew that they were telepathic, so I was a lot more careful about what I was thinking. And I was also aware, when I would wake up during the middle of the night, I could see these like Aboriginal hieroglyphics or patterns. I knew they were downloading or kind of upgrading our software, is probably a better way to put it, that they were, so that we could raise our vibration up. We needed to raise it up high enough to where they were so that we could perform these ceremonies. So I knew they were working on us. And they actually continued for quite some time. And I know that they do still work with some of when I do these healing consultations with people, I know that sometimes the Aboriginals will show up and help out. It's so fascinating. So, they're so gifted on so many levels, and this is where we're heading. I think they've been in fifth dimensional existence for a long time, and that's where we're heading, is where we feel this love, we feel the connection, we want to help each other. We can really communicate to the to the earth. I had the opportunity to be with a lot of indigenous cultures last summer in Montana. They were bringing a lot of different cultures from all over the world, these indigenous tribes, and it was fascinating that they all have so much in common. They all have this tremendous connection to the earth, to nature. They have a really strong connection to their ancestors, and they can all hear, like I said earlier, the trees singing to us, or the mountains speaking, or what the wind has to say. It's so beautiful to be around that, where they're from all different parts of the world, but they all have the same things.
So they're free. They're not enslaved by their minds and the culture and the media. They're able to put all that in its perspective and enjoy the connection they have with nature and everyone around them. That's a wonderful gift. We all need to learn that.
Exactly. They don't have that conditioned mind and the expectations in that mind that just is. I think that that's the best way to put that they are free. They are free from the imprisonment of the mind, and they can actually feel what's going on inside. They can feel that bliss and that contentment and that peace and that joy and love running through them, which is running through all of us. We just can't feel it with all these emotions that are like heavy blankets sort of thrown on top of it, so we can't feel it.
The male-female, is there a hierarchy as they deal with one another?
Oh, that's a great question. I wish I knew all the answers to that. I think that they tend to, and I can't really speak for all Aboriginal tribes people. I can only speak for the ones that we encountered. As someone said, that's like going to France or going to Paris and meeting some Parisians and say, you know how French people are. I would agree. I can't. A lovely woman in Portland pointed that out to me, and I thought, you are so right on about that. But I do know Gary's experience was that they tended to work together, that they're very community oriented. They eat together. They're in these very small tribes. That the remote ones, that there's hundreds of these tribes, but they're very small. They may even be just 24 people, and that they communicate. They speak different languages, but they are telepathic, so they do communicate to these other tribes. And I'm sure that's certainly how they mate, is with someone outside the tribe. But I understood from when Gary was there in the tribe, the village that he was with, that he didn't feel that the women were designated to certain tasks, that it was about there was equality, which is exactly what we need to survive, is bringing forth that divine feminine and getting that balance back. So I think they have that balance, and it's a matter of I think the men are probably hunters because they are designed for that, but it's not that that's exclusive, if that answers your question, Patricia.
It does. Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah. Do they... When they marry, do they marry for a long period of time, or are they just they come together as a unit?
I think they come together. I think they are. From what I understand, and I could be corrected on this one, but I understand that they mate for life, and that they, the family unit then is together. Yeah, but that they tend to stay together in these small little communities. They are very nomadic. I mean, they have to be, because that was really kind of shocking for me when I went into the Outback with this tribe, and I saw how, it was so interesting how there were, I can't remember, maybe there were 20 of us white women who had come from all over the world, and I had come with a friend from the United States, and it was interesting watching. The white women were giving gifts to the Aboriginal women, and so we'd be giving our clothes to them. And I actually saw one sweet Aboriginal woman walking around with a red purse. It looked like a very expensive red purse. I'm sure there was nothing in it. She just, again, isn't that interesting how women are drawn to purses, And it was a gift from someone, But when we left, and they left before we did, and it was such an honor to be there that we wanted to clean the site up. They're very big about, cleaning the site up and making sure that nothing is left behind. Mm-hmm. I was surprised to see them leave so much of the gifts that we had given them. the purses and the clothing, and because they're very present moment. They don't have a lot of materials. They weigh us down. They have freedom from that. So they use what they need. And that's why a lot of them, when they go into town and they have money, that doesn't work for them because they live so present moment. That's the mind that takes people off into the past or future. So I was kind of taken aback by that they would leave that stuff, but I realized they're nomadic. They can't take that stuff. They have to take what they need.
Right.
So very interesting perspective.
And from what you describe in your book, too, they accept themselves where they are for who they are, and then you make a point of talking about some of the women that you've encountered in your work who don't. I mean, they don't do enough in their own minds, and they're successful businesswomen and mothers and wives, and that in their own minds, they're not measuring up.
The mind again, isn't it? Isn't it interesting how that mind will tell us stories and we will believe that and take that up as an identity? I really think it's, as you move down the path of spirituality or awakening, you lose the stories of the mind. You lose these identities and realize who you are as this beautiful, luminous being, very brave for being here on this planet. But that's another thing I loved about the Aboriginal people is there's no criticism, there's no judgment or comparisons. It's just love-based, whereas we tend to be in our minds, which tell us we're not good enough, we're not measuring up. No matter what you do, it's not enough. I tend to be a recovering perfectionist. I'm an overachiever from day one. But, and I think there's a lot to learn from that. And so I was really amazed when I was there. I was meeting the most extraordinary women who had started, who were head of corporations, mountain climbers, adopted numerous children, started charity foundations. And yet we would have these conversations by the fireside where these white women felt that they just weren't measuring up, or they were wondering why they were exhausted. What's wrong with me? Why am I so tired? And I'm like, wow, we are so held captive by our mind. We just can't really even see what we're doing to ourselves.
You can almost draw a straight line between the way the mind thinks in this judgmental format that it's never enough and fibromyalgia.
Absolutely, and that's why it's becoming more rampant. Absolutely. That's a very good point. And that's really what it's about, is those emotions are like, I liken it to a dashboard on a car. When you start moving away from that base of love, those love-based emotions, compassion, whatever, and again, not that there's anything wrong with it, but you start wandering away into anger, resentment, guilt, it's like a blinking light on your dashboard letting you know it's a warning system. You're creating some toxic, heavy emotions for the body to hold. And if you keep wandering away from that enough, or you keep creating those emotions enough, now your dashboard is lit up. And that's called fibromyalgia, or diabetes, or cancer. And that's why you can't, just like Western medicine, take the bulb out and say it's fixed. You've got to go back and find out what's really the root of this that's created this. And I know for mine, I got a blood transfusion, but I was totally ignoring the body. I pushed it to exhaustion on a regular basis and fed myself M&Ms to get through the night when I would pull all-nighters with work, I mean, I was an accident, a crash waiting to happen. And I'm a slow learner. I had to crash twice. So I got sucked back in again.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. And I think, too, for people, it's not about getting rid of these other emotions. It's about understanding why they're there.
And like you said earlier, that choice, making that choice. But having that awareness certainly makes it, having an awareness that guilt is not an emotion that I really want to and marinate in on a regular basis has helped me stop it more often,
Right, and get to its root. It's like you brought up the weed, wanting to pull it out by its root. What's the root of it all? Because there's some reason it keeps rearing its ugly head. And it's true, some of it's the addiction, some of it's the monkey mind, but it's coming from some root, and it's important to identify that, because I know so many women who are afraid of their own anger, and they shouldn't be. They should just treat it as the gift it is, but they shouldn't wallow in it either. There's a difference. So
Exactly. Experience it. Experience that contrast. That's what you're here for. That's why you're on this planet. It's a free will planet. You can pain and struggle as much as you want and experience it all, but we're just gaining an awareness of which ones we want to sort of hang out in and what we're creating. And a lot of times, again, this is a soul's game, in that you're here very deliberately to grow as a soul. We come here and sign up deliberately into specific family lines because we want to experience that, or we want to learn how to heal it, or once and for all, we finally want to overcome that fear. So if you've always had a fear about scarcity and survival and enough money, then you probably as a soul are going to incarnate into a family that has that poverty mentality so that you can learn to overcome it. And that's why people, there's that expression, if you can't be a good example, you can at least serve as a terrible warning. And oftentimes...
I'll have to remember that one.
Wonderful. I love it.
Well, and oftentimes that's what people that we are surrounded by are showing us, especially family members, what you could become. You're wired this way, and they're giving you a beautiful example of what happens if you continue down this road. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you're here to evolve beyond that. And as far as I know, awakening, enlightenment is when you have moved beyond all the fears of the mind. It doesn't hold you anymore.
Yes, that is it right there. That is it.
Phenomenal.
Well, now I'm speechless.
That's good. Your mind isn't working. That's good. It stopped for a minute.
Taking a hiatus.
That's a good
she may
sign.
not come back, Patricia. That may be the end of her for the evening.
I'm just going to have to read you some questions from the chat room now. So here's
I don't know if I can answer.
I know, really. We may have to sit in silence. Well, here is a question for you. Somebody would like to know, what happens when you have negative people in your life? What do you do with that?
Oh, don't you love that question? Because we all have it.
Oh, yes.
You know, yeah, and you have to recognize everything is an opportunity, and it's here for you to grow as a soul. Our human minds may not like it. We don't like the pain. We don't like some of this stuff. But as a soul, it's rich stuff. So you want to pay attention to, is this an opportunity? Why is it here? Is it here because I need to learn how to set up boundaries out of self-love? Because love is always going to be the answer. What would love do in this situation? Is it here because my soul or spirit guides or whatever are ramping it up so that I finally leave this relationship or this job? Why is it here? Or is it here, and this is a big one, because it's about me learning acceptance. Because it comes down to everybody can do what they, if they want to immerse in that, that's fine. That's what they're learning. And their soul and their journey is very designed for that. And it's on your path for a reason. So you want to know, why is it here? Why is it on my path? And is it because I'm to learn to not be judging them? That's my mind that has expectations about how they're supposed to react. It's my mind that has expectations about, certain belief systems that they should be having. Or is it about me stepping more into compassion and love and just accepting that's the way they are? And what energy am I adding to this? That's what it boils down to, is what energy am I adding? And being kind to ourselves as we're in this process of growing and learning. Some days you get it, some days you get hooked in. And so it's learning how to unhook from the mind a little bit faster. Like when I was in traffic, how fast can I get in? I was around somebody who was very toxic and throwing a lot of negative stuff at me, and I could not get away from the situation. So I I work a lot with my beautiful spirit guides and team. I asked, please help me heal this. More than anything, because I didn't want to come back and have another lifetime with this person. I really wanted to heal it.
Yeah,
and
really.
I could feel a wave of compassion moving through my body, and I suddenly saw things from her point of view. That changed everything. I was no longer focused on me and my annoyance, but I could see where she was just acting out of fear, and that shifted things. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, all about the freedom of this so that you're not caught up in somebody else's process, because that's another thing. It's like the reading between the lines of this question that came out in the chat room. I mean, so many people are, not so many, but there are a number of people who are narcissists, and they're experts at drawing the attention to themselves away from you. And I think they're some of the most dangerous people on the planet, actually, because it's done in an energetic way as well as a psychological way. So, really understanding yourself in relationship to that person is your only means of survival with a situation like that.
Yeah, and it comes, again, I love that question, what would love do? Because it really pretty much is going to always give you the answer that, that's going to come from the soul, the heart. And sometimes it's simply walking away. Sometimes it's not exposing yourself to that. And sometimes it's a matter of, is this deliberately on my path because I am supposed to extend love and compassion, or acceptance because I am capable of that. It wouldn't be on your path if you weren't capable of handling it. And some of the more evolved older souls are given some really challenging situations because they're equipped for it. And that's the thing is, you're not designed to be doing this alone. You have tremendous help from the other side of the veil. So call on it. Ask for help, whether it's whatever your belief system, your angels or spirit guides or an ancestor or a loved one or your higher self or divine source, whatever. But get a higher consciousness to help assist, because you were designed to have assistance, but they cannot step in because it's a free will planet. It's a spiritual law until you ask. But when you ask, they always respond. So if I'm challenged by something, I use them for everything, not just parking. And it is astonishing.
You're reading my mind.
Isn't that funny that that's what we do?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's amazing. I will ask for help with everything, and I will ask, help me heal this. Help me find the humor in it. Help me find the compassion or the forgiveness. Because the first step is you have to ask, and the second step is they're like, well, what do you want? Well, I want to heal this. Or I want to know what to say, provide a really obvious opening, and then provide the words for me. So you work together as a team. It makes a big difference. That your mind doesn't have to figure it out. It's a great idea to get that mind out from behind the steering wheel and allow this higher consciousness to be guiding you all. Because the mind was never designed to know how to do this stuff. We're asking it to do way more than it was designed to do. And that's why it goes into panic and negativity and fight or flight mode. For instance, your mind is designed to know how to balance a checkbook, but it's not designed to know how to put the money in the bank, what job, what career. That comes from the soul. What are you here for? What's your journey? Same with relationships. My mind is not equipped to pick out a mate for me, truly.
You've got some company there, my dear.
Yeah, none of us should be picking from that place. You're so right. Yeah.
Yeah. So hand it over and allow them to guide you, and they love helping because you're honestly you're God in a physical form. You're this beautiful, luminous, whatever you want to call it, but they're serving out of love. So they love, and I only ask for the highest love and light assistance, and what's in the highest and best good of all. And I'm a big fan of saying, and let's do this in a fun, easy, gentle way. I don't need to be smacked upside the head anymore by 2x4s. I've done that plenty of times.
Yeah,
I know. I have to get it out of my hand and quit doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Take it away. So there's a lot of information on my website, on the blog section, that talks about how to engage the team, even and actually to help tap into their healing powers, how to communicate to them, how they communicate with you. That's a really big one because a lot of people miss a lot of the signs. They always respond. They're very good at what they do. So if they want to go to holzwellness.com, HOLZ.
HOLZ, right, wellness.com, okay. That's your website. And that's one of the other questions that came up in the chat room. Somebody just wrote and said, I'd love to work with Robbie. Can I work with her? So is there a way for people to work with you long distance?
Yes, I work with people all over the world, yes. And all I need is 1 hour. Just give me 1 hour. I swear it will transform your life. I love doing that. It makes such a difference, yes. So they can go to Holz Wellness, and there's information there, HOLZ as in zebra. Or as they say in Australia, HOLZ. That's so funny. They just...
holzwellness.com. And the name of your most recent book, which is terrific, and it's just so heartfelt. I really was touched by reading your book, Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, a journey of healing and spirituality with a remote Australian tribe. What a great book. And this is your second book. So your other book is called Secrets of Aboriginal Healing, which is also excellent. So everybody, you guys got to run out. If you haven't read the first book, get that one. Get this one. They're both excellent, and it'll help you in so many ways to read what Robbie has to say. And again, your website is Holz, H-O-L-Z, wellness.com, so people can contact you through your website to work with you. And do you do groups also, Robbie? Is that something you offer?
Well, we have an online course so that people can integrate this and we made it easy and accessible, knowing people have busy lives. So there's an online course to help people so that they really get it. We've tried to put a lot of information up on the blog and just to help people, empower them so they can get this and make their lives different and then help others as well. Get it out there.
Great message, Robbie. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here again. Gosh.
So interesting.
Thank you. I'm going to have to write another book so I can come back and talk to you ladies again.
I know it.
It's always so fun.
Oh, that's right. And we love having you here. So please, if you come up with anything else you want to discuss, we don't even have to wait for the book. Just please let us know. You're just one of our top guests, and we always welcome you here on the show on Supernatural Girls.
Thank you. You're both a delight.
Oh, well, thanks. Thank you. And good luck with all your next adventures. I'm sure with you they're never going to stop. So we'll wait to hear the next installment. But anyways, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a great show with Robbie Holz. And, again, her terrific book, Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, a journey of healing and spirituality with a remote Australian tribe. Wow, Patricia Kirkman, what an evening.
That is for sure. How fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
We always learn so much from our fabulous guests. Always.
Isn't that the truth? After we listen to them, gosh, what am I going to do? How can I make myself do more?
Yes.
You can't help but think about all the other possibilities.
Well, yes, and again, the knowledge that Robbie brought to the show tonight was just so clear. I mean, it's so clear what we need to do. And thanks to her, I know everybody in the audience has an even deeper understanding of all of this. So next week, we're going to be talking about the secrets of initiation in the pyramids. We've got somebody coming on who has figured out the keys to all of those ancient initiations. He's going to tell us how to do it. So here we go, another adventure here on Supernatural Girls. So everybody, have a wonderful week. We will see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, Patricia.
Good night, Patricia. Good night, Robbie.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural